I'm Emily Medley. I am a nurse practitioner and a writer, and about a year ago I wrote a blog about eczema. And I was asked to read the blog out loud now for Eczema Awareness Month. And I think it's pretty safe to speak for all people with eczema when I say that we would really love to have an eczema not aware month, because we're always aware of our eczema. You'll see I have a cat, which is something I thought would never ever happen for me. But when I wrote this blog last November, I was in a really good place with my eczema. I'm having a terrible flare now. I think it's a lot due to COVID and just not moving around. My diet's different, just kind of my immune system's a little bit lower, stress, all of these contributing factors to eczema can cause a flare, and I'm definitely in one now, kind of the worst one I've had in years. I'm back on steroids, I'm doing some light therapy, I've got some special shampoos, and I'm hitting my asthma medicine, a lot now, but we've kind of come to accept that it's just a kind of some people deal with this for a lifetime, and I happen to be one of them. So anyways, without further ado, I'm going to read this blog that I wrote a year ago, and hope that you enjoy it, okay? So this was written in the form of a letter to my skin. Dear my perfect rashy skin, as the month of November is upon us, I know we are all going to begin reflecting on what we are thankful for and secretly looking towards the new year, thinking of things we hope to come. I just wanted to write a letter to you, Skin, and thank you for all the ways that you've been there for me and that you've shaped me as a person. I really never stopped to think about it much before, but in a way, you have made all of the difference. Some things we have to be thankful for do not always present themselves in pretty little boxes with bright red bows. For some of us, gifts present themselves as suffering, providing us unique opportunities to raise our EQ and IQ, to meet the occasion head on and decide how we will or will not let it shape us. And for you, Skin, I want to thank you for all you have done to get me to where I am today. I just want to begin by thanking you for showing signs of jaundice when I was born. What a wonderful compensatory response you had for me having an immature liver and too much bilirubin. You are so smart. You knew just what I needed and just what to do, and if you hadn't turned yellow, I might not even be here now. Thank you for doing that, so that the medical team could respond in the best way they knew how back then. My dad says I wasn't wearing a diaper when I was under the Billy lights, and I bet it must have felt good for you to be warm like that. It must have been like a tanning bed, or maybe even a cocoon. It bothered my dad that I wasn't moving, but when I think back on it, maybe I was just relaxed and comfortable. I had entered into a world of chaos, and for those few early days, I got to lay still and quiet, processing my birth journey, and maybe even having my heart prepared for all that would be to come. What a gift. While I wasn't able to be with my mother when I was under the lights, I was with you, Skin. You and me, Skin, we've been together since the beginning, and I want to thank you for being my friend. Not just my friend, but a best friend. Thank you for housing me, my organs, my bones, and my soul. It bothered both of my parents that my eyes were covered with bandages under the lights and that I couldn't see. But I am thankful for that birth imprinting experience, because what was imprinted on me through that was that I really wanted to see. I would go the rest of my life looking deeper, further, as deep as I could go, because I wanted to see. I would choose nursing as a profession later in an effort to see the best and the worst in humanity, and to share the most intimate moments with spiritual eyes. Of course, as we know, jaundice that severe is never normal, and often indicates trouble to come. As the early years of my childhood went on and began, I want to thank you for developing such terrible and excruciating eczema. This disease, as some might call it, really shaped me as a person, and I have you, Skin, to thank for it. First of all, when the wheels were in motion to make America the most obese country in the world, my disease put me on the original Mediterranean diet. Goat's milk, goat's cheese, pears, and cashews were the only foods that fed me for my young life. And what a blessing that turned out to be. In the TV dinner craze of the 70s, with red-haired clowns and big floppy shoes promising families faster dinners and happier meals, I grew up eating clean and having to trust my hunger cues, to trust my body, to have a fast metabolism, and to have a craving for only healthy food that would serve my sensitive body well. And can we talk for a minute about the word disease? Because skin, I know you must have felt like you had one. I mean, that's what everybody said. And for me, the soul living inside of you, to so oftentimes be so at ease, itching, scratching, crying, being difficult to everyone around me, I must have contributed to you feeling that way, as if there were something inherently flawed in you. Do you remember going through life with people treating us like we were contagious? That was weird, huh? When all we wanted was to touch and to be touched. Remember people staring, saying you were gross and ugly, and not being able to roll around in the grass like other kids or run because you may sweat? Remember kids asking, "What's wrong with your skin?" Well, I want to thank you for all that, from a social and cultural enlightenment standpoint, because what it did was make me sensitive, honestly, more confident, and so much kinder to my fellow man. And maybe they were the ones with the disease, not us. Because what you gave to me was the ability to understand what it feels like to look different, and the social cues that we unknowingly give and take that we could maybe stand to think twice on. I learned not to stare because I didn't like to be stared at. I learned not to comment on someone because they looked or thought or ate something differently than I did. I learned to never assume that I knew the burdens that someone else was carrying, and to, quite frankly, live and let others live. Dr. Seuss said, "Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." I became very secure as a woman in terms of what my beauty meant and from whence it came. I had to be. I learned to understand on a deeper level that my significance was in God, not about whether I could fit in or be the prettiest. And that attitude, it was pervasive. People started to notice that I was confident, and confident women are the most beautiful. That was an unintended thing, but it worked. I didn't mind that my legs looked different. I couldn't hide them. I didn't hide them. I grew up wearing shorts and miniskirts, and as a grown woman, cocktail dresses. I never thought one thing about it. Because you made me, me. And I learned very quickly that if people thought that I was contagious or not beautiful for being the real me, as the Lion in the Velveteen Rabbit says, once you are real, you cannot be ugly, except to people who do not understand. These truths were profound to me, and I learned them early because of you, Skin. So thank you for my eczema. It taught me more than it took from me. You taught me to see the beautiful in the unusual, to see the beautiful in the unique, to see the beautiful in the exotic. I also learned to be angry through my skin allergies because I itched all the time. That righteous anger and sense of discomfort is what made me a fighter. Anger can cause a battle cry to survive. It can cause us to rise up, and fighting for the most basic comfort in life is how I survived my parents' painful divorce when I was a child, and other hard things to come too. I fought my way out of that pain because I had learned to live with discomfort and to be comfortable in it. Itching all the time, bleeding, whelping, those things made me a fighter. And if you're going to get through life, you have to be very strong. It also taught me to speak up for social injustices and for when others are hurting, because people who itch, we learn to not really care if we make others comfortable. When you itch that badly, you can't afford to care, so you learn to speak your mind. Making others comfortable is not always a priority. It is not always the path to peace or to justice. So thank you, Skin, for making me a fighter. Do you remember, Skin, when I was a child and I would take my nails and dig across into the bloodiest parts of my eczema? It felt so good to feel pain there instead of itching. When I was little, I thought that if I dug across into you, that Jesus would help me not itch. And he did. because soon after, the pain would fill the spot where the itching had been. And for just those few seconds, I would feel something different than itching. Thank you for letting the cross of Jesus make me feel better, even if it was strange to some how it did. To replace the feeling of discomfort with a feeling of pain can sometimes be the most purifying and relieving thing that we can do, and the most transformative, because pain leads to understanding, and understanding leads to wisdom. Those days of childhood are long gone now, and I am a woman left with only light scars from eczema, except for now because I'm having a huge, major flare. The scars are so light now, no one would ever know that they were there unless I told them. So skin, thank you for my scars. May they be a faint but steadfast reminder that we truly do grow up and out of most things if that hurts us if we just relax, wait, and give it all a little time. And the wrinkles you are starting to get, skin, go ahead and feel good about those too. Growing old is something I never thought would happen for you. So when that day comes, if it does, when I can no longer recognize the beauty in myself or in you, because the face I know now is gone, and in its place in the mirror stands a very old woman, will you remind me that I am still real? Love the bones and soul inside of you, Emily.